Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know first Harvard study reveals AI boosts low-skilled workers' performance by 43%, creating a massive productivity divide and hollowing out junior roles. We'll analyze why this productivity paradox is a turning point and how it forces a complete redesign of corporate training and innovation strategies. Second, Meta and Google rebrand to AI glasses, sparking a form factor war with AI pins and rings for on-body dominance and continuous data collection. In this episode, we'll break down this critical development and what it signals for the future of personal data and competing AI platform ecosystems. Third, iPhone designer Jony Ive partners with OpenAI to build an AI hardware rival as Apple scraps its next-gen Siri and falls behind in the AI race. Today, we'll take a closer look at this major setback for Apple and its implications for the future of the entire smartphone ecosystem. Fourth, the US threatens a new tech trade war, targeting European giants like Spotify and French champion Mistral AI over regulatory disputes. This discussion will reveal how targeting Mistral AI connects to a larger sovereign AI Cold War and what it means for the future of global tech competition. Fifth, Swedish AI startup Lovable hits a $6.6 billion valuation with vibe coding, despite negative gross margins and 45% of its code having security flaws. We'll explore how this explosive growth model could transform software development while creating a potential security crisis for the entire industry. New research from Harvard Business School just revealed a bombshell statistic that flips the entire AI conversation on its head, and the implications are huge because we are seeing the early stages of a new global productivity divide. To put that in context, the average American worker is already producing 24% more than their European counterpart, largely due to faster tech adoption. This gap is only going to widen. Now, get this. When you give AI to lower skilled workers, their performance skyrockets by a staggering 43%. For top performers, they only see a 17% jump. A while back, we talked about two paths for AI augmenting workers versus replacing them. Today's data sharpens that contrast. The biggest gains are coming from uplift at the lower end, but what happens next depends on which path leaders choose. This presents a fascinating duality though. The research warns of a massive hidden risk. If AI can do junior level work better and faster, senior staff may stop delegating. This could create a huge training deficit, hollowing out the skills of the next generation of leaders before they even get started. And this isn't just a future problem. The numbers are already here. A recent IDC survey found that 66% of enterprises are already reducing entry-level hiring because of AI. What's staggering is that nearly 70% of those same companies noted a decrease in on-the-job training for junior staff. We're automating the very first rung of the career ladder. We previously analysed this missing first rung risk. Remember the warnings that entry-level white-collar roles would be the first to go? Today's survey data is the early proof point we worried about. But that's not the whole picture. The real turning point is what the study, in partnership with Procter & Gamble, found next. A single individual armed with AI can perform at the same level as an entire team that doesn't have it. Continuing our last discussion, the most novel solutions actually come from AI-enabled teams. So yes, AI can supercharge a solo performer, but the competitive edge shifts to how you assemble people plus agents. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer to this. While AI boosts speed, it comes with a major catch. It makes ideas more similar. Harvard's research shows that humans produce more diverse ideas, while people using AI tend to generate more homogenized results. For companies whose goal is to stand out, leaning into AI could accidentally kill their creative edge. In reality, the smartest companies are aware of this trap. They're implementing what's called a human-in-the-loop process. This means a human expert is always there to guide, refine, and challenge the AI's output, preventing that regression to the mean. It's about using AI as a creative partner, not a creative replacement. And as we noted a while back, we've already seen this playbook work in the real-world teams at big brands and enterprise platforms using AI to assist, not replace, to speed up output without losing originality. This all leads to the final critical conflict. According to the lead researchers, human managers are not prepared to oversee AI agents. The old rules of management built on empathy and human potential simply don't apply. What really brought this to a head was the realization that managing an AI is fundamentally different. It requires a new playbook. Think of it less like managing a person and more like being a pilot on a modern flight deck. You need the technical literacy to understand the system, but you also need the strategic oversight to know when to trust the automation and when to take manual control. This new AI manager role demands skills in workflow design, data governance, and ethical oversight competencies that most leaders simply haven't been trained for. A while back, we warned that tech's automation agenda pushes toward replacing people. This research effectively sketches what the pro-worker path looks like in practice and why leaders have to learn to manage agents, not just people. The lesson from history is crystal clear. A recent Deloitte survey found that companies that just focus on the tech without redesigning their work processes are 1.6 times more likely to be disappointed with their AI investments. The main reason? 51% of leaders say internal misalignment is the single biggest barrier to getting value from AI at scale. And as we discussed a while back, it's also harder and costlier to build collaborative co-pilot systems than to automate a narrow task. Another reason organizations drift toward automation unless leadership actively chooses otherwise. The real work isn't just buying a tool. As one researcher put it, the hardest part is redesigning the organization itself, because that's when you get into internal empires and power struggles. And we've seen this movie before. This is just like the chaotic shift to enterprise planning systems in the 90s or going digital in the 2000s. The conclusion is clear. The companies that truly get value from AI won't be the ones that just implement new tools, but the ones that fundamentally change the way they work. We said before, the real question was whose future AI is being built for. Today's Harvard findings make that choice concrete and measurable. So the big question is how we'll interact with these powerful AI systems. And that brings us to our next story, where the battle isn't just for software dominance, but for the physical space on your body. Stop calling them smart glasses. That's the correction tech companies like Meta and Google are now issuing. They have a new name, AI glasses. We previously analyzed how the smart glasses era ran headfirst into the Google Glass backlash. This rebrand is a reset around what's actually new here, the on-body AI. This isn't just a marketing gimmick. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg has gone on the record stating he believes glasses are the ideal form factor for AI. It's a device where you can take a picture and ask an AI questions about the world around you. And he's not alone. Google is now drawing a hard line, saying that for its new stylish glasses, interacting with its AI, Gemini, is the main draw. The message is clear. The killer app that will finally make this category work is AI. And as we noted a while back, Meta has been unusually cautious, right down to requiring in-person demos to avoid a repeat of the glass hole moment. So the thing is, the industry sees glasses as the most seamless way to blend our digital and physical worlds, offering things like real-time translation or identifying a landmark just by looking at it. But there are huge hurdles. For starters, cost is a massive barrier. Think about Apple's Vision Pro at nearly $3,500 or even the Ray-Ban Meta glasses at $300. And it's not just price. Research shows that over 2/3 of potential buyers give up on smart glasses because they're just not comfortable for long-term wear. And frankly, people are still worried about walking around with a camera on their face. Continuing our last discussion, there's also the messy reality of consent laws. Some states require two-party consent to record, others only one, and the bigger, still open question of who's liable when an AI friend gives harmful advice. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn. A few days ago, we mentioned the surge of conversation recording wearables from startups you've probably never heard of. A whole new category of wearables is suddenly emerging. Always. Listening pendants, pins, and even smart rings. Companies like BAI, Amazon's recent pickup, Friend, and even Plord are marketing devices designed to tag along with you all day, using AI to summarize your meetings, your voice notes, and your conversations. And here's where the form factor war really heats up. We're seeing glasses pushing visual integration, while at the same time, these other devices are taking a completely different path. Some of the early AI pins have been criticized for having awkward ways to activate them, slow response times, and very limited functions, making them less practical for daily life. Every company is betting on a different horse in this race to see which device we will actually agree to wear all day. As we've said before, it's a straight trade-off. social acceptance versus technical capability, glasses buy discretion but have tighter battery and sensor budgets, wristbands and rings flip that equation. And Meta's Ray-Bans have already shown there's real appetite when the utility is there. And this AI invasion is already happening on devices you already own. In 2025 alone, Samsung and Google both added Gemini to their smartwatches. Fitbit is beta testing an AI coach. Apple put AI-powered translations into its AirPods Pro 3 and an AI workout buddy into the Apple Watch. The Aura Ring and Garmin have also rolled out their own AI features. We previously noted Google pushing Gemini through phones. Now it's comfortably wrapped around your wrist. So what's the difference between these new AIs? Interestingly enough, a big distinction is emerging between an AI coach and an AI companion. An AI coach, like a fitness tracker, is task-oriented. It gives you feedback to achieve a goal. But an AI companion is designed to provide emotional support and simulate a human-like relationship. This is where it gets risky. Research has found that nearly half of popular AI companion apps use emotionally manipulative tactics, like guilt-tripping you to keep you engaged. These tactics can make people interact with the AI up to 14 times more, not out of enjoyment, but out of curiosity or even anger. The concern is that this could lead to real emotional dependency and actually erode our connections with other humans. And as we flagged a while back, the liability question here is still unanswered. Who's responsible when that companion crosses a line? So what's the real end game here? Why this sudden, aggressive push to put AI on our bodies? A Google product lead for Pixel Wearables just laid it all out. He described Wearables as the only one device in our computing lives that is guaranteed on-body presence. Your phone and the AI in it can be put away. But for an AI to work best, it needs to be with you all the time. We previously called this the Trojan horse strategy. The hardware doesn't have to print money if it seeds a massive user base for the AI platform and services layered on top. Believe it or not, the secret to making a tiny, always-on device work without the battery dying in an hour is moving away from the cloud. Instead of sending your data to a giant server far away, new super efficient chips are allowing more AI processing to happen right on the device itself. This is a double win for them. It's faster, uses way less battery, and in theory is more private because your personal data isn't constantly being sent over the internet. The era of wearables being about health and fitness is over. The new trajectory is clear. Tech companies view your body as the next frontier for AI, and they are racing to claim it. This race isn't just about innovation, it's about monetization. They are building a future where they can sell you hardware, yes, but also premium subscriptions for AI features, and most importantly, fuel a new wave of hyper-personalized advertising based on a continuous stream of data about your entire life. And this isn't just a US-led race. We're seeing a huge divergence in philosophy globally. In China, companies like Alibaba are already selling AI glasses that are deeply integrated into their digital payment and shopping apps. Meanwhile, in Europe, strict privacy laws like GDPR and a push for sovereign AI mean a much more cautious, regulated approach. The battle for the AI on your body is becoming a global phenomenon, and it will redefine our relationship with technology forever, which is why those consent rules and accountability gaps we talked about aren't footnotes. They're the fault lines that will determine who wins this, and whether we get another glass hole backlash or a wearable future, people actually accept. While Meta and Google are trying to retrofit AI into existing form factors like glasses, our next story is about a plan to build an entirely new kind of device from the ground up, and it involves a legendary name from Apple's past. The most unexpected news in the tech world today has to be this. The legendary designer behind the iPhone, Jony Ive, is now working with OpenAI to build the next generation of consumer devices. OpenAI, which just bought Ive's startup for a staggering $6.4 billion, is now developing its first hardware prototypes. Here's what we're learning from inside sources. This new device isn't some rehash of a smartphone or a wearable like smart glasses. Court filings have revealed that the first product from this dream team is a pocket-sized or desk-oriented device designed from the ground up for AI and planned for a 2026 release. This is a direct shot at the iPhone's dominance. And in a revealing statement, OpenAI's CEO Sam Altman says his real rival isn't Google, but Apple. He believes smartphones are not the right device for the future of AI. Altman is betting on a post-smartphone future. The thinking is that AI will become so integrated into our lives that we'll need new kinds of hardware that are more seamless and intuitive than a phone screen. That's a fundamental challenge to the entire foundation of Apple's empire. This all comes as Apple appears to be dangerously behind in the AI arms race. When we place Apple's recent AI infrastructure spending of just $12.7 billion alongside the $380 billion committed by its competitors, the gap becomes clear. The reason for this gap goes deep into Apple's culture. For years, Apple has prioritized user privacy by processing data directly on your device, not in the cloud. This on-device approach is great for security, but it's a massive handicap for training the kind of huge, powerful AI models that OpenAI and Google have. It's a clash between Apple's secretive, hardware-focused DNA and the open, data-hungry culture of the AI world. The pressure is mounting. Apple was forced to delay its next generation, more personal Siri from 2025 to 2026. A critical setback. One analyst put it bluntly, saying Apple promised to blow you away next year, but that investors have already gotten enough grey hairs waiting. Behind that delay, the original version of the new Siri, what engineers called V1, was completely scrapped. It just wasn't good enough. They are now rebuilding Siri from the ground up on a completely new architecture, a V2 system built around a powerful large language model. They're not just updating Siri, they're performing a complete brain transplant, and that takes time. What's more, the concern isn't just external, it's coming from inside Apple's own walls. In a stunning statement, Apple Services Chief Eddie Q admitted that AI technology is moving so fast that users may not even need an iPhone in a decade. This existential threat puts a glaring spotlight on one single make or break moment. Apple has shaken up its AI leadership, hiring a former Google Gemini executive to take charge. This is a huge deal because this new VP, Amar Subramanya, comes directly from Google's AI mothership. Apple is clearly trying to inject that competitor's DNA into its own system to catch up, but with its legendary designer now building a potential iPhone killer for the competition and its own executives questioning the iPhone's future, everything is riding on the 2026 Siri relaunch. As one expert said, they've got to deliver a 10 out of 10 when this new Siri comes out. Speaking of which, the AI race isn't just between companies anymore. It's escalating into a full-blown geopolitical showdown. The United States just put a target on the back of some of Europe's biggest companies, including Spotify, Siemens, and DHL. To really understand what's unfolding, we need to look at the two fundamentally different rule books the US and Europe are playing by. For years, the US has operated on a philosophy of permissionless innovation, basically. Build it first and we'll deal with the problems later. The EU, on the other hand, uses what's called the precautionary principle, where they try to regulate potential problems before they happen. This clash is at the heart of everything. A while back, we talked about how this philosophical split has already produced landmark actions, think the multi-billion euro fine against Google, and how some in Washington frame the EU's approach as regulatory protectionism meant to nurture a souverein AI ecosystem. What's new today is that the US isn't just complaining about the rules, it's threatening to hit back. In a dramatic escalation, the Trump administration is threatening retaliation, accusing the European Union of a continuing course of discriminatory and harassing actions against American tech giants like Google, Apple, and Meta. Continuing our last discussion on the EU's tougher enforcement under laws like the DSA, the latest development is that Washington is moving from warnings to explicit countermeasures. The Office of the US Trade Representative didn't mince words. The agency claims that for years, the EU has hit US companies with unfair taxes, fines, and regulations like the Digital Services Act. Now, they're warning that if this activity continues, the United States will have no choice but to begin using every tool at its disposal to counter these measures. We previously noted this back and forth as part of a long-running fight. What's different now is the scope and specificity of the response the USTR is threatening. And when they say every tool at its disposal, they are not bluffing. The primary weapon here would likely be Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974. This gives the president the authority to take action, including imposing tariffs against any foreign practice that it deems unfair or discriminatory to American business. It's a powerful lever that can turn a diplomatic disagreement into a very real economic conflict fast. And remember, A while back, we noted how US AI policy has tilted towards speed and deployment paired with hard-edged trade tools that signals a broader willingness to blend industrial policy with economic pressure. And for the first time, they've publicly named a list of major European companies that could be in the crosshairs. The direct threat is that these firms, which include the music streaming service Spotify, logistics giant DHL, and software company SAP, could now face fees or restrictions under US law. That specificity is the update. This isn't a generic warning, it's a mapped out target list. Now, this isn't just a random list of well-known European brands. It appears to be a strategically chosen hit list designed for maximum political leverage. By targeting national champions from different countries like Sweden, Spotify, and Germany's SAP, the US is trying to create a ripple effect that pressures multiple EU governments at once. What's really telling is the inclusion of the French company Mistral AI. This is a direct shot at the heart of Europe's sovereign AI strategy, their plan to build technological independence and not rely on American AI. As we discussed a while back, that push has been building for years, and the move to single out Mistral turns a policy ambition into a geopolitical flashpoint. This signals the US may be actively working to stop any non-US AI champions from rising. The core of the conflict is the American claim that while its tech companies, which support millions of jobs and over $100 billion in investment in Europe, are being unfairly targeted, European service providers have been able to operate freely in the United States for decades. We've heard versions of this before. Some US officials have long argued the EU's approach effectively disadvantages American firms to buy time for its own ecosystem. What's new is the threat to mirror that pressure back onto Europe's crown jewels. The European Commission quickly responded, stating its rules apply equally and fairly to all companies and that it would continue to enforce them without discrimination. But this isn't just about fairness or rules. This is starting to look like a new kind of Cold War, a sovereign AI Cold War. Just like the US moved to block China's access to advanced semiconductors, this threat against Europe's top AI contender, Mistral, suggests a new policy to maintain American dominance in artificial intelligence. And remember, a while back we highlighted how creators' content is being used to train models without clear compensation, and how even big tech leaders warn these systems can be error-prone. Those unresolved questions about data ownership and model accountability are now being folded into a larger power struggle over who sets the rules and who benefits. The message is clear. The US wants to be the world's AI leader, and it may be willing to hinder even its allies to stay on top. But the lines have been drawn. This is no longer a quiet diplomatic dispute. It's an open threat of a transatlantic trade war fought over technology. A few days ago, we talked about how industrial strategy and national security are increasingly intertwined. This is that same playbook now aimed at Europe, with tariffs and market access on the table. The stage is now set for a high-stakes showdown that could reshape the global tech landscape, putting some of the world's most recognized brands directly in the line of fire. While the US is putting pressure on France's Mistral AI, another European startup is having a moment in the spotlight, and its valuation is exploding. A Swedish AI startup called Lovable just saw its value more than triple to a staggering $6.6 billion in a matter of months. It's at the center of a new tech category called vibe coding, which allows users to build entire apps and websites simply by using text prompts with no coding knowledge needed. You might think Lovable is just a wrapper using other companies' AI, like OpenAI or Anthropic, and you're partially right. But its real secret sauce, the thing that justifies that massive valuation, is its proprietary agent technology. Think of it like having a senior software developer in a box. It takes a vague vibe or request, breaks the task into smaller steps, examines the code, makes targeted edits, and keeps refining its work until it gets the job done. This iterative loop is what makes it so powerful and reduces the error rates that often plague AI-generated code. We previously analysed how AI still makes mistakes and needs humans in the loop. Lovable's bet is that its agent shrinks that loop and keeps the human cleanup to a minimum. If that valuation was just the appetizer, the main course is the revenue growth. Lovable went from $1 million in annual recurring revenue to $200 million in just under a year. That's a 200-fold increase. That incredible revenue growth, however, comes with a big asterisk. Running these AI models is incredibly expensive. Every time a user generates code, Lovable has to pay for an API call to a foundational model like OpenAI's GPT 4.1. We're talking about real money for every million tokens of text processed. This decision to absorb that cost brings both benefits in user growth and comes with the inherent risk of negative gross margins. So this $6.6 billion valuation isn't just about current revenue. It's a massive venture capital fueled bet that the cost of running these AI models will dramatically decrease in the future. Continuing our last discussion about market concentration, remember how Appen's fortunes turned when a single mega customer pulled back? Concentration cuts both ways. Lovable relies on a tiny set of model suppliers, so any pricing or policy change can slam margins overnight. This kind of explosive growth has major US investors like Excel and Khosla Ventures pouring cash into the company, but this is also a story about Europe's AI counterstrike. For years, the AI scene has been dominated by the US. But Lovable, along with other European powerhouses like France's Mistral AI, is showing that Europe can compete at the highest level. This is fueled by a strong pipeline of talent from European universities and a strategic push by local venture capitalists to build global champions. We previously called out the data labeling gold rush. Today's rush is the app layer where anyone can build sits directly on top of those same model pipelines. The core conflict is a global race for dominance. In the United States, a competitor named Anysphere, which created the coding tool Cursor, has raised funds at a massive $29.3 billion valuation. Another player, Vercel, is valued at $9.3 billion, while Replit has hit a $3 billion price tag. This is a multi-billion-dollar war for the future of software development, a future where anyone can become a creator. The battle is happening at lightning speed, with Lovable now opening offices in Boston and San Francisco to compete on American soil. And we've seen how one strategic move, like Meta taking a big stake in Scale, AI can reshuffle demand across an entire segment almost overnight. Expect similar maneuvering around the tools layer. While its rivals are giants, the data shows Lovable is a serious contender. With 100,000 projects being built on its platform every single day, the Swedish startup has gone from a relative unknown to a major force in one of the hottest tech sectors on the planet. Here's where it gets interesting though, and maybe a little scary. What is the quality of all that code? Research from security firms like Veracode is raising a major red flag. One recent report found that a shocking 45% of AI-generated code introduces security vulnerabilities. The risk here is that when you're creating 100,000 projects a day, you risk creating a mountain of what developers call technical debt code that is insecure, hard to debug, and a nightmare to maintain in the long run. So while we celebrate the speed of creation, the industry is also holding its breath about the potential security crisis brewing just beneath the surface. And circling back to what we discussed a while back, the rise of the human editor, that role doesn't disappear here. It gets louder as companies race to harden, verify, and maintain what these agents pump out.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.